Oh, thank you for that lovely introduction. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. As a learning and development practitioner, one of the things that I'm really passionate about and really focus on is about that human emotional connection. So today what I'm going to talk to you about is about that, is about emotional connection. And I suppose my question is, what will define the leaders of tomorrow and will that make a big difference? Of course, in today's workplace, life should be simpler than ever. But the question is it enough? And does that mean that the role of the leader will be easier in the future? It's a kind of a big question to ask. And so hopefully today we'll be doing a little bit of exploration around, what does that mean and how does that play out? And today I'm going to talk about the trends and the challenges of the modern workplace and how they will shape the workplace of the future. And it really is a question about what does that mean for the role of the leader and will that be easier for them in the future? I'm going to look at what those challenges mean for future leaders and ask the question, how can we future proof them? How can we support leaders to future proof themselves? I'll be talking about the qualities that they need and the tools that can equip them for success. And that's including print. So print is a model of human motivation and it reveals what really motivates and drives people. And I'll share a little story with you about how print transformed leadership in a local government that we worked alongside. And then I'll be wrapping up by setting us all a little challenge. But first of all, let's look at what we've got in place in the workplace right now. So there's more awareness of what people need to thrive, more flexibility to get the best out of employees, and technology to work remotely. That's become the norm, hasn't it, really? And artificial intelligence to do a lot of the work for us. It can draft content, it can write strategies, write guidelines for a diverse and inclusive workplace. It can do absolutely all of it. It can even bash out that letter that you've been putting off for your elderly aunt in a couple of minutes. Generally, tech is taking away a lot of legwork. I keep hearing a lot from leaders that I'm working with that it's also doing some of the things that they used to require a lot of managerial experience to do. So, for instance, if you've never written a guide to setting objectives, just write a prompt to ChatGPT and you've got it instantly. Never hosted a town hall? Here's an outline for you to use and use all the different combinations of what that might look like. Need to manage underperformance? Well, here's an instant training course right here, right now, on your screen, all while you eat your breakfast. And a question I've been hearing a lot lately is, as the workplace becomes more driven by tech, will we even need leaders? It's a really good question, isn't it? It does sound a little bit dramatic, but it's a great question to ask because it makes me think about what it is that sets leaders apart. And of course, not only what will set them apart, but will continue to set leaders apart in the future. What might that change and transition actually look like? There is one really important thing that technology cannot do. It can't understand. It can't understand what it is to be a person, to live as one of us, to inhabit a human body in a physical world with all the challenges and the pleasures that it brings. And that means it lacks a vital leadership quality, understanding not only what people do, but also why we do it. So, more than ever, the leaders who stand apart, the ones who really win hearts and minds, are those that do understand. And I mean really understand at a deep and fundamental level what drives people and what truly motivates them. Because right now, let's face it, there's a lot going on in the workplace. There's lots of good things about the modern workplace, but if you're anything like me, you might be finding that there's also a lot of changes that make it challenging to be within the workplace at the moment. This is a huge challenge for employees and also for leaders. So let's just think about a few of those shifts that have happened in the past few years. And let's face it, they've happened really rapidly. So I've already mentioned AI because that's one of the biggest changes at the moment. It's not perfect, let's face it, and there are concerns about what it means for jobs, for creative industries, and of course the environment. But it's here and it's woven into the workplace. People are using it to transform decision making, planning, reporting. They're even using it for creative work. And it's become widely used because it saves a lot of time and a lot of money. Secondly, remote and hybrid working models have redefined the way we collaborate, the way we connect, the way teams interact. Some love it, some struggle with it, and some like to have that variety of those different ways of working. But however we feel about it, it's here to stay. So, next on the list, we've got generational changes in expectations and values. Everyone's different, of course they are, but in general, there are clear trends in what people of different generations expect from the workplace. Studies suggest that younger employees want flexibility, they want purpose, they want work life balance, and especially when they're setting up a home, they're starting families, or just, being young, enjoying their life. Meanwhile, older generations like me tend to be looking for stability and loyalty, knowing their experience will be valued and not have to keep switching jobs year on year. It's a balance that a lot of organisations are trying to get right, with more flexible structures, inclusive cultures, and that people centred way of doing things. If there's one thing to remember, it's that the next generation's wish lists will define the workplace of the future. According to the World Economic Forum, Generation Z represents 27% of today's global workforce. And of course, that's a figure that will continue to grow as older generations retire. From 2030, we'll welcome to the workplace Generation Alpha. And this will be the first generation to have been entirely born in the 21st century, totally immersed in the digital world. Of course, they'll still want successful careers, they'll still be willing to do corporate jobs or devote themselves to a vocation, but they'll be less prepared to compromise for a workplace that doesn't align with their own values. These things they're looking for will not be an aspiration, they will be an expectation. So, for example, things like purpose, connection, inclusion, balance. Leaders who see them as a whole person, as fully rounded humans, not just commodities or outputs. If we want this growing talent, we need leaders who are ready to attract, inspire, and motivate them. And that means empathy will be more than just a nice to have or an abstract concept, it will be a competitive advantage. Understanding what drives people will be vital in getting the best from younger employees. And leaders with these qualities and skills will be hot property. They will be the one to hold the golden key to success. But let's have a look at the fourth challenge, and this is a big one. It's quite scary, actually. It's about a dip in employee engagement, and to be quite frank, it's plummeting. In 2024, globally, employee engagement fell to 21%. That's according to a recent Gallup data. That's just 21% of employees around the world who feel engaged in the workplace. And the cost of the global economy is estimated at $438 billion. Don't just think about the money, think about the human emotional cost. I mean, the question is what's happened? It's a very sad statistic that only a fifth of all employees are switched on and engaged within their workplace. So, altogether, with all those changes, there is a lot going on, isn't there? A lot to negotiate, a lot of shifts, and a lot of things to get our heads around. We're in a world shaped by change and uncertainty, and to thrive in it, to make sure people can do their best work, the workplace needs something very special, something constant that we can always depend on through all the changes that we encounter. And really, that's human skills, human connection, and human understanding. And these are the things that will sort the good leaders from the brilliant ones. So let's take a moment to think about the leadership landscape. In the workplace I've just described, there are several challenges, key challenges for leaders. First of all, they've got to navigate the complexities of technology, not just AI, automation, but different platforms as well, new channels, new apps, the full shebang. Most leaders do not have the time to build a lot of experience in this. Most of us are just learning as we go along. We're learning together with the colleagues around us, with our teams, and with others in our sectors and within our industries. No one's expected to have all the answers yet, but what we do need to have is an awareness what platforms people are using and what they're using them for and why. What type of work can we trust with AI? What tasks are purely for people? Technology keeps developing quickly and rapidly, and that means that we need to stay alert to what is genuinely adding value to the way we do our work and to encourage others to be discerning and think critically about what they're producing with it. And of course, you need to be human to do that. To help people to tell the difference between something that looks good and something that has real meaning. So leading dispersed teams is not easy, is it? Teams who might be partly in the office, partly at home, some on video calls, some who have never met in person before, and of course, some who never will. I don't know about you, but I find that it takes a lot of juggling skills, a real varied toolbox of techniques and flexibility to be able to do that successfully. There's not an off the peg way to inspire and motivate teams when they're in different places and not in the same room as each other. It means going a little deeper and really learning to understand how people behave, respond, and interact, and then working with that knowledge to get the best out of them. And that's a real challenge. Of course, for leaders, there's the pressure to keep delivering results quickly while keeping people engaged. So let's think back to that statistic about engagement. Just 21% of employees feel engaged. So these challenges naturally go hand in hand. To get results that are sustainable, you need people to believe in what they're doing, to have a sense of purpose. And if people keep achieving those results, the likelihood is they'll be more engaged. So let's go back to that human connection. What's at stake if we really ignore it? It hasn't always been a priority in the workplace. I'm sure many of you remember times when humanity has been, let's say, lacking a little bit in the world of work. In some industries, it's almost as though showing humanity has been seen as a weakness, something undesirable in that cut and thrust of the corporate environment. Now, thankfully, people have come to better expect. And if we ignore human connection, then we risk disengagement, mistrust, lack of innovation, loss of talent as people look elsewhere for jobs, and realistically, it all leads to the risk of commercial failure. I'm sure you already know some of the core human qualities that make great leaders, things like empathy and emotional intelligence, authenticity and vulnerability, purpose-driven leadership, and the ability to build trust and psychological safety. You might be familiar with the Project Aristotle. It was run by Google, who spent 2 years studying 180 of their own teams. What they wanted to do was they wanted to pin down the formula for a successful team, that magic formula to find out what is it and what makes a team successful. They expected that the most effective teams would have an experienced manager, high flyers, ambitious performers, and ample resources. You guessed it, they were wrong. They found that the best performing teams were the ones with the highest level of psychological safety, the ones who felt safe to take risks, make mistakes, be open and vulnerable in front of each other. In other words, be 100% human. Another fascinating piece of research, this time by Gartner, identified humanity as being the next big evolution of leadership. Their study revealed that organisations who encourage their leaders to show empathy and to adapt to employees' needs increase their effectiveness from 29% to 48%. I'm going to say that stat again, 29% to 48%. It's incredible, isn't it? That human connection brings a whole bunch of benefits to increase well-being, high retention, higher productivity. And it's, to be honest with you, it's not really a surprise, is it? But what do we really mean by human connection? Well, in this instance, I'm not talking about rapport, although of course it's really important. It's not about being kind or approachable, also really important, or having a bit of banter. It's always good to have a little bit of a laugh at work, isn't it? Or even celebrating birthdays. For a leader, it's about understanding what motivates people, what really drives them, creating a match between individual motivations and organizational culture. It's about being able to tune into what drives someone's behaviors, decoding those motivations, discovering what will help them to find that sense of purpose. Because a leader who can do that can anticipate needs, they can anticipate creating meaning and foster loyalty. And that all translates into higher productivity and much better business outcomes. And this is where we've got a powerful ally in this framework. And I briefly mentioned it at the beginning. It's a tool called Print. Print makes the invisible visible, and it does it by uncovering those hidden motivations, those unconscious drivers of everything that we do. We call it the whyvals. When people discover what's driving their reactions, their decisions, their brilliance, they understand themselves much better. And with that understanding comes the power to make different choices. In a nutshell, Print is a model of human motivation. It helps us to understand how we act, react, and interact with one another, what gets us firing on all cylinders, feeling motivated, productive, and of course, resourceful. More importantly, it helps us to understand what does quite the opposite. So, those days when you don't feel in sync, when your strengths and your talents are blocked, when your behavior becomes exaggerated, or it might be inappropriate, extremed, or even misaligned. It helps us to recognize those two states, that best self version and our potential shadow state when our unconscious motivators are not being met. Print also reveals our unique triggers, so those events, situations, scenarios, or even people that sometimes can feel like an attack on our motivations. Those triggers are usually unintentional because they're driven by somebody else's motivators. So if we understand what triggers us, we can learn how to avoid those triggers and how to recover quickly from them. Equally, if we know what motivates other people and what triggers them, we've got the key to enhancing teamwork, enhancing culture, belonging, and therefore productivity and performance. So let me give you a little example. Imagine one of my motivations is always to be prepared, to know all the facts, and to feel really secure and watertight, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. My colleague, however, who I love very dearly, she wants action, she wants quick decisions, she wants to get cracking, she wants to get moving. And of course, that's one of her motivations. For me, I might not respond to her email instantly because I need to have all the details all ready and thought through before I give her an answer. But potentially that means that she's triggered. I'm holding her up, I'm stopping her from moving forward. And if she pushes me for a decision, well, you've guessed it, that's a trigger on my part. We're unintentionally blocking each other's drivers. So think about how helpful it is if we knew each other's motivators, if we understand each other's triggers, if we know each other's print, we've got something to work from. We've got a really good solid foundation to think about what's going to motivate each other. So, I might say to her, yeah, that sounds great. Let me have the details. I'll think about, which way I'm going to go, what's the decision, and then I'll come back to you by the end of the day. And so she's in that place of saying, brilliant, that I feel really satisfied. We can start to make a plan. We can start to get that into motion. I can start to move forward. It sounds really simple, doesn't it? But, it's just one of those very small everyday examples. And it's the kind of thing that can really pay off. The kind of personalized human insights that you would not get from a chatbot. And it applies to any scenario, any interpersonal challenge, whether that's big or small. So here's a little snapshot of some of the superpowers that print can have. So for teams and workplaces, print is like a guidebook to humans. It's like a user manual you sometimes wish came with every single person that you work with. For coaches and mentors, it's like reflecting your client's inner compass. For relationships, print turns on the subtitles and helps you to understand not only what they say, but what they mean What's the meaning behind what they're saying? And of course, for leaders and managers, it's an incredible leadership GPS. It shows you how to get the best performance, creating the right conditions to enable your people to be at their very best. And it takes real human insight to be able to do that. So we're all different with different motivations and different expectations. And for me, that is one of the biggest takeaways from a program that we recently co-created with a large local authority. And the program was called Leadership in the Spotlight. And what the program did was it focused on using print to become a more effective leader through skillful communication, deeper understanding, and stronger empathy. At the start of the program, we asked leaders to choose 3 words to describe their current leadership style right now. And these were their top 3 descriptors. There were many more, but these were their top 3 that they had collectively across the group. Approachable, supportive, and collaborative. Absolutely phenomenal qualities for a leader. A lovely mix of softer skills, being approachable and not scaring people away, and a good strong dose of collaboration. Interestingly, though, by the end of the program, we asked leaders to repeat that exercise and choose 3 words to describe their leadership in that present moment. And here they are. So as you can see, supportive still made the cut of those top 3, but the other 2 had changed. So now what we're seeing is authentic and empathic alongside being supportive. So it's interesting, isn't it, how we interpret them? You may interpret them as them being quite touchy-feely, maybe not traditionally managerial. One delegate even said that they were once told that their sensitivity was not a leadership quality at all, and yet this is where it all starts. Now let's take a little closer look at generational differences in those expectations. So to lead people effectively, you need to start with great human qualities. And that's all the more important with generations of people who expect to be treated with compassion and with empathy. You've probably heard the term snowflake being used about younger generations. Maybe you've even been called it in the past. My preference is to call people human, living, breathing, feeling humans with hopes and aspirations and motivations, because with big feelings come big dreams and big ambitions. And the leaders who can work with them to unleash that power are going to be leading the most brilliantly successful teams of tomorrow. And this is how we future-proof our organisations. We future-proof it by understanding motivations, our own, our colleagues, and our team members, the people that we interact with each and every day. So let's have a little bit of fun. Let's create a character. Let's create our future-proof leader. Someone in the year 2030, scarily enough, just 5 years from now. This is the first generation alpha. They have become adults and they're thinking about their careers. So our future-proof leader is ready to attract the best talent of Gen Z and generation alpha. And what does this leader look like? Well, first of all, they use AI as a tool, but they value human control over the tech. They keep a focus on performance, but are fueled by empathy. They master digital collaboration, but never lose that human touch. They create cultures where success is powered by humour, connection, and trust. And they do all of this really adeptly by understanding what drives people and how to work with those human motivations to get results. My question is, why wait? So why don't we start now? So as you're here listening to this part of Inspiring Workplaces and being part of the Inspiring Workplaces community, I have a very strong feeling that you're already doing a lot of this. But I'm going to suggest a few ideas that organisations can take away today to make sure that we have those standout, future-proof leaders ready for what awaits us in the years and decades to come. So see what you think to these and see how they might work for you. So, one action is to build leadership development programs with human skills at their core. So, here's an example. Top 30 Under 30 is a program delivered in the Hull and Yorkshire regions that develops young talent in the workplace, recognising and developing their skills and potential. It's all about working with the individual to bring out their unique strengths, nurturing future leaders who really understand people's motivations and drivers. We can encourage intergenerational mentoring. We all have so much to learn from each other. There's a huge amount of power when we combine the wisdom acquired over a lifetime with the fresh ideas and fresh perspectives of someone who's newer to the workplace. Seeing it through their eyes is an absolute gift. Cherish it. Absolutely cherish it. We need to create spaces for vulnerability, storytelling, and humour. All the things that forge human connection, that spark creativity, that build empathy, and the things that remind us in the workplace that we are all essentially human, with all the diverse and wonderful qualities that set us apart from technology. And we can use tools like print to build self-awareness and understanding of one another. It helps us to recruit for roles that align with motivations, to communicate in ways that are resourceful and remove the blockers or the friction that is holding us back, to know what's behind our actions and reactions and how we can use that knowledge to get the best out of ourselves and the people around us is also another great gift. So to wrap up, the leaders of tomorrow will not be the most tech-savvy ones, but the most human-savvy. The ones who know how to get results from AI, but know how to get even better results and the best out of people. Those who appreciate the benefits of tech and understand how it's used, but truly value the humanity that people bring to the workplace. So I'm going to leave you with a little challenge, one that I hope will tap into your own motivations for success. So my question to you is this: what will you do today to nurture yourself, your teams, and the next generation? What can you do today to start shaping the leadership of the future? It's a great question, isn't it? So I will leave you with that. It's been an absolute pleasure sharing these ideas with you today, and I hope that they've given you some inspiration for the future. Thank you for watching and listening. If you'd like to find out more about print, please visit discoveryourprint.co.uk or drop me a line on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye bye.